hope you've all had a good week. I'm going to do another myth-busting Monday. I really need to come up with a better name, so I can't say that one every week. This week we're going to do the guilty-looking dog. So we've probably all at some point had this where we come home and our dog's looking particularly sheepish, and we then go on the hunt to find what they've done wrong. And they might have chewed something, or if you've got a puppy, they might have weed in the house. Maybe you've got an older dog and they've weed in the house, and you are sure that they knew. I come across this all the time as a trainer. People who tell me all the time that they know the dogs know that they've done wrong, because as soon as they come in, they're doing what I would call appeasement gestures. So they've got that typical guilty look. Unfortunately, there's been a few studies that have pretty much shown that this isn't true, and whether dogs do wrong or not, they are actually responding to their owner's body language, and that it's more that it's what the owner believes the dogs to have done. And so the owner it's kind of a two-way thing, where to begin with, the dog gets shouted at maybe because they've toileted in the house a few times, and then they get worried that when their owner comes home they're going to get shouted at, so they start doing appeasement gestures beforehand, whether they've weed at home or not. But the owner notices it more when there is mess in the house, or that they've built this kind of relationship where the owner expects something to be wrong when they come home. So as soon as they come through the door, the dog reacts, and then the owner goes, "Oh, you look guilty, what have you done?" And it's this kind of vicious cycle. Whereas a lot of the time, dogs are just being dogs. If they need to go to the toilet and they can't get outside, they will just toilet in the house. A little bit like potty training a toddler. Like, they don't do it because they're being spiteful or vindictive. They're doing it because they can't get outside. So it's really this responsiveness between dog and its owner that causes these appeasement gestures, which is a classic guilty look. And so what we need to do instead is work out how we can set the environment up better, so that the dog doesn't have to chew things that it shouldn't, wee in places that it shouldn't. Is the dog being left for too long? Is that the problem? Is that why it's toileting in the house? It's unknown whether dogs actually feel guilt. It's unknown whether they have that kind of processing. For those of you who don't know, I've got a master's in psychology, human psychology, I suppose you call it, as well. And it's what we would call theory of mind, and it's that understanding that your behaviour has an impact on someone else's behaviour and how that would make them then feel. And we don't know at the moment whether dogs have this. It's a very difficult thing to test in animals as well. It's not something that is very simple, because it generally requires quite a lot of language skills, which obviously dogs don't have yet. And so we don't know whether they have this feeling of guilt. The chances are that they probably don't have it, and instead what they're trying to do is do that kind of, please don't hurt me, please, I didn't mean to, I'm sorry, I don't know what I've done, but please stop and don't hurt me again, or don't shout at me, or don't be cross with me, or don't sulk with me, or whatever it might be. I think instead what you have to look at is, why is my dog behaving like this when I come home? Is it because their environment isn't right for them, and maybe I need to do something? Do I need to employ a dog walker, or do I need to hide my shoes away? And then once you start to change the environment, then they won't do things wrong, which then means you won't expect them to do things wrong, which then means that they're not doing this guilty look in response to you. And it's this kind of changing the environment and changing your attitude and changing the way your dog behaves that will then make you have a better relationship, and you won't see this guilty look anymore. I hope that makes sense. It's a bit of a complicated one to explain, because it's one of those ones that's really built into our psyche, that they look like they're guilty and then they've done something wrong, and so you therefore go, well, they must know that they must know that they've done wrong, and that's why they're showing that they're guilty. Whereas actually it's generally built up through history, from when they're a very little puppy, that you go, oh God, you've messed on the floor again, oh God, better go clean it up now, and then that becomes like a learnt behaviour from the dog's point of view, that they're expecting you to come in and shout at them. So then they show these what we call appeasement gestures, which saying, please, I'm sorry, please don't hurt me. And that can just be shouting. It doesn't have to be anything more than that. And as it progresses, it goes on and on. if you've got any questions, or if you've got a really cute photo of your dog doing these appeasement gestures, pop them below. And I am open to other suggestions, to things to talk about. I've had really good feedback so far, so I'm really glad that everyone's enjoying the videos. I'm currently sat in the garden enjoying a little bit of sunshine, because it seems to be quite rare at the moment, so I thought I'd do it outside today. But yeah, if you've got anything you want me to talk about, chat about, go through, explain, let me know below. Drop me a message, Facebook message, text message, email, whatever, and I'll endeavour to cover as much as I can over the next few weeks. Thanks, bye.